Okay, Assalamualaikum and selamat sejahtera. So now let's proceed to subtopic 2.3, which is Biogeochemical Cycle. Okay, so first of all, you have to know the definition of Biogeochemical Cycle. So what is Biogeochemical Cycle? Okay, so based on the definition, it is the cycling of matter chemical elements from the abiotic environment to organism and then back to abiotic environment. Okay, so the keywords here is cycling of matter chemical elements. Okay, so what is the example of chemical elements? For the example, it is carbon, nitrogen and also phosphorus. Okay, so where does this chemical elements is come from? It is come from the abiotic environment. So what is the example of abiotic environment? It is atmosphere, soil and also ocean. So what happened to this chemical element? Okay, it will be cycle from abiotic environment to organism. So organism is abiotic components, and then what happened to the element? Later it will be transferred back to abiotic environment. So this is what we call as biogeochemical cycle. So in biogeochemical cycle, there are two components, which are the first one we call as a reservoir pool. So what is reservoir pool? Okay, so in this pool, chemical element is in large quantity. Because of what? Reservoir pool, actually it is the abiotic components of ecosystem. So what is the example of the abiotic component? Example are atmosphere and also soil. Okay, so in atmosphere and also soil, there are a large number of chemical elements. For the example, in atmosphere, we have carbon dioxide gas, we have nitrogen gas. Okay, so reservoir pool is referred to the abiotic components of the ecosystem. So that's why in this pool, the chemical element is in large quantity. So what is the difference with cycling pool? So in cycling pool, chemical element is in smaller quantity. Why? Because of what? Cycling pool will involve the biotic components of the ecosystem. So what is the example of biotic component? Example are animal, plants, decomposer. So decomposer, its example are bacteria and also fungi. So what happened to the chemical elements? Okay, for the example, let's say in carbon cycle. Okay, so let's say animal undergo respiration. So what happened? This animal will release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So animal is the biotic components. So since animal is a biotic components, so biotic components we relate with the cycling pool. And then once carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere, so atmosphere is the abiotic component or abiotic environment. So what happened to the chemical elements? It will be cycle. Okay, from abiotic to the organism and then back to the abiotic environment. So you have to know the concept of biogeochemical cycle. So in this cycle, there are three cycles that you have to know. The first one are carbon cycle, next nitrogen cycle, another one phosphorus cycle. Okay, so now we proceed to the first cycle, which is carbon cycle. Okay, so if you look at the diagram, so carbon cycle will involve carbon dioxide. So where does carbon dioxide is come from? It is from the atmosphere. So atmosphere is the example of abiotic components. So what happened to this carbon dioxide? So you have to stress on several processes that involve in carbon cycle. Okay, so you have to differentiate how carbon dioxide can be absorbed, okay, by the green plants, and also how carbon dioxide can be released back to the atmosphere. Okay, for the example here, okay, so how carbon dioxide from the atmosphere can be transferred to the green plants, okay, by the process that we call of photosynthesis. So that's why if you look at the arrow, so carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is absorbed by green plants. The keyword here is green plants. So carbon dioxide will be used by the green plants in the process of photosynthesis. Okay, and then next, we look at this process. Okay, carbohydrates and protein in animals. So the arrow here, what happened? Okay, animals also can release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. So the process of releasing of carbon dioxide to atmosphere by animals we call as respiration, and also what happened to the animals and also to the green plants once it is die. Okay, so both animal and green plants will undergo decomposition by the decomposers. So the process of decomposition also can release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, one more. Okay, carbon compound also can be found in fossil fuel. So what happened to fossil fuel once combustion process is already occur, it will release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So this is the overall process of the carbon cycle. So you have to stress on what process involved. Okay, the first one is photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is the process by which carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is taken up by green plants. Okay, and then animals undergo respiration, so it will release the carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Once animals and also plants is die, so both of it will undergo decomposition by the decomposers. So this process also will release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Another one, fossil fuel can undergo combustion. So this also will release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So this is what we call as carbon cycle. Okay, so now let's proceed to nitrogen cycle. Okay, so if you look at the diagram, so there are 5 main processes that you have to take note in nitrogen cycle. The first process we call as nitrogen fixation. But for nitrogen fixation, it can be classified either it is biological nitrogen fixation by lightning, or industrial fixation by Haber process. Okay, then you have to know what is the process of nitrification, ammonification, assimilation, and also denitrification. Okay, so we go through one by one. Okay, first of all, what is nitrogen fixation? So the concept here, okay, we want to convert atmospheric nitrogen, means that the nitrogen gases into ammonium or NH4+. Okay, so how atmospheric nitrogen can be converted into ammonium is by the process that we call as nitrogen fixation. Okay, so here is the biological nitrogen fixation. So biological nitrogen fixation will involve nitrogen fixing bacteria. So there are 2 types of bacteria here. The first one are mutualistic nitrogen fixing bacteria that can be found in root nodules, okay, which is we call as rhizobium species. So remember, since rhizobium species is a scientific name, so you have to underline and R must be in capital letter. Okay, another one, nitrogen fixing bacteria, it will involve free living nitrogen fixing bacteria that we can find in soil, which is called azotobacter species. So actually both of these nitrogen fixing bacteria, okay, can convert atmospheric nitrogen or nitrogen gases into ammonium. Okay, and then what happened to this ammonium? Ammonium then will undergo the process that we call as nitrification. So what is nitrification? It is the conversion of ammonia or ammonium to nitrate. Why ammonium must be converted to nitrate? So that's why it can be absorbed by plant roots by the process of assimilation. So means that, okay, ammonium must be converted to nitrate. So this process we call as nitrification, and it will involve nitrifying bacteria. But to convert ammonium to nitrate, ammonium cannot be directly converted to nitrate, but ammonium must be converted to nitrate first, and then from nitrate it will convert to nitrate. So the conversion of ammonium to nitrate, it will involve nitrosomonas species. So this one you have to remember, ammonium convert to nitrate involve nitrosomonas species, while nitrate convert to nitrate involve nitrobacter species. Okay, and then next is we look at assimilation. Okay, so what is assimilation? So root will absorb ammonia, ammonium or nitrate and incorporate nitrogen into protein, nucleic acid and also chlorophyll. Okay, so once ammonium and also nitrate is already found in the soil, so plant or the root of the plant can absorb nitrogen and also ammonium. So actually nitrate, okay, the function of nitrate, it will act as a nutrients to the plant. Okay, and then what happen? Okay, so plants can convert it into the organic nitrogen. Okay, so when animal consume the plant, so this animal also can get the organic nitrogen. So what happen if plant and also this animal die? So it will undergo decomposition, okay, which is it will involve decomposers. Okay, and then the organic nitrogen inside of this dead organism also can be converted into ammonia. So this process we call as ammonification. So remember, if it involves decomposers, okay, so it can convert the organic nitrogen into ammonia, okay, or ammonium. So this process we call as ammonification. Okay, and then if you look at here, so nitrate also can be written, okay, or nitrate also can be written to the atmospheric nitrogen by the process that we call as denitrification. So what is denitrification? It will return nitrogen to atmosphere as nitrogen gas. So this will involve denitrifying bacteria that we call as Pseudomonas species. Okay. Okay, then before that, okay, so for nitrogen fixation, as I mentioned earlier, okay, beside it will involve biological nitrogen fixation, it will also involve nitrogen fixation by lightning. So the concept of nitrogen fixation, actually it will convert the atmospheric nitrogen, okay, into nitrate or into ammonia. Okay, and beside that, for nitrogen fixation also, it can by industrial fixation. So what is industrial fixation? Nitrogen from atmosphere combined with hydrogen to form ammonia by Haber process. And then what happened to the ammonia? Ammonia produced is then used for fertilizers. Okay, so what is the importance of the conversion of atmospheric nitrogen to ammonium? Because of what? Plants cannot directly absorb nitrogen gases. It must be converted first to ammonium. So once there is ammonium and also nitrate, so plant can absorb or root can absorb both ammonium and nitrate. Okay, so that's why it can convert into organic nitrogen. Okay. Okay, so now we look at the phosphorus cycle. Okay, so the difference in between phosphorus cycle and also carbon cycle and also nitrogen cycle. For carbon and nitrogen cycle, both of that cycle, okay, both of it can exist in form of gaseous state, but for phosphorus cycle, it does not exist in gaseous state. So that's why it does not enter the atmosphere. Okay, so where does phosphorus is come from? Okay, actually it is comes from the land to the sediments and also the ocean. Okay, so the phosphorus cycle will cycle from land to sediment in the ocean and back to the land. Okay, so the concept of phosphorus cycle here, if you look at this diagram, okay, so this is phosphorus in rock. So what happened once water erode rock? Erodes mean the process of erosion. Okay, so inside rock, it will containing phosphorus. Okay, so phosphorus in rock. Okay, so when water erodes rock containing phosphorus, so it will release inorganic phosphate in soil. Okay, so this is soil here. So you have to remember, water erodes rock containing phosphorus and it will release inorganic phosphate in soil. Beside that, weathering of rocks also can release inorganic phosphate in soil. So what is the meaning of weathering? Weathering is the breaking down or dissolving of rocks and mineral. Okay. So once phosphate is already in soil, so this inorganic phosphate can be taken up by plants, okay, and then plants will convert that phosphate into organic compound. So when plants consumed by animals, so this organic phosphate also can be transferred to the animal. So what happened to the plants and also animal when it is die? So decomposition process will occur, which involve decomposers. So what happened to the phosphorus? Phosphorus will return to soil by decomposition, and it also can be used back by the plants. Okay, and then beside that, okay, so phosphate in solution can form a precipitation of phosphorus. So precipitate is in the form of solid, and then what happened? It will form rock. Okay, and then from here, a rock can undergo the process that we call as uplifting. So what is the meaning of uplifting? It is the underground rock can be brought up to earth surface. Okay, so rock is produced. So what happens? So the process of weathering of rocks will occur once again. So when the erosion of rock is occur, so it will release inorganic phosphate in soil. So this cycle will be repeated. Okay.